The Middle East conflict entered a more dangerous and unpredictable phase on March 28, 2026, as Yemen's Iran-aligned Houthi movement formally entered the war, launching its first confirmed missile attack on Israel since hostilities erupted earlier this year. The development marks a significant widening of a war that already spans multiple fronts, from Iran and Israel to Lebanon, Iraq, and the Gulf, and now risks spiraling into a full-scale regional confrontation. According to multiple international reports, the Houthis launched a ballistic missile towards southern Israel, triggering air defense systems and sirens across vulnerable regions. In a formal statement attributed to the Yemeni armed forces aligned with the Houthi movement, the group framed its involvement as part of a broader regional resistance effort. Our operations, with the assistance of Almighty God, will persist until the stated objectives are fully realized, the Yemeni armed forces declared. The statement further emphasized alignment with Iran and allied groups across the region. This operation was launched in conjunction with the heroic actions being carried out by our Mujahideen brothers in Iran and Hezbollah in Lebanon. The Houthis described their missile barrage as targeting critical and sensitive military targets in southern Israel, portraying the strike as a calculated escalation in response to ongoing military operations against Iran and its allies. For weeks, the war, triggered by large-scale U.S. and Israeli strikes on Iran, has steadily expanded. Iran responded with missile attacks on Israeli cities and U.S. bases, while proxy forces across the region escalated hostilities. Now, Yemen's involvement introduces a southern front into the conflict. Reports confirm that Israel detected and attempted to intercept the incoming projectile, though details on interception success remain limited. The Houthis themselves made their intentions clear even before the strike. Our fingers are on the trigger. The missile launch triggered heightened alerts around one of Israel's most sensitive sites, the Negev Nuclear Research Center near Dimona. The facility, established in 1958 with French assistance, is widely believed to be at the core of Israel's undeclared nuclear program. While Israel maintains ambiguity regarding its nuclear arsenal, global consensus holds that the Dimona facility plays a central role in its strategic deterrence. The International Atomic Energy Agency, led by Director General Rafael Grossi, confirmed there was no immediate indication of damage or radiation leakage following recent strikes near the site. He warned that military operations near nuclear facilities carry catastrophic risks and urged maximum restraint. The Houthi attack comes just days after a major Iranian missile barrage struck southern Israel, including the cities of Dimona and Arad. Those strikes injured more than 100 people and raised serious concerns about the effectiveness of Israel's air defense systems. Despite Israel's advanced multi-layered defense network, some missiles managed to penetrate defenses, signaling that even heavily fortified zones, including areas near nuclear infrastructure, are vulnerable under sustained attack. Scenes from southern Israel reveal the human cost of the escalating war. Emergency responders reported dozens of casualties following missile impacts, including children injured by shrapnel and civilians hurt while rushing to shelters. Hospitals in the region were overwhelmed with patients suffering from trauma, blast injuries, and panic-related conditions. Ambulances rushed through damaged neighborhoods as shattered homes and debris littered residential streets. The psychological toll is equally severe, with sirens, uncertainty, and repeated attacks creating an atmosphere of constant fear. Iran has defended its missile operations as retaliation for earlier strikes on its nuclear facilities, particularly the Natanz enrichment site. Iranian state narratives emphasize that targeting areas near Dimona is symbolic as well as strategic. The message from Tehran is clear: nuclear infrastructure, whether Iranian or Israeli, is now part of the battlefield. This marks a dangerous shift. Historically, both sides avoided direct confrontation involving nuclear-linked sites, fearing uncontrollable escalation. That restraint now appears to be eroding. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu addressed the nation following the attacks, describing the situation as one of the most challenging moments in Israel's history. He indicated that Israel remains determined to counter what it views as existential threats posed by Iran's military and nuclear ambitions. Israeli officials have vowed continued strikes on Iranian military infrastructure, including missile production facilities and command centers. International concern is rapidly growing over the possibility of strikes hitting nuclear facilities. The IAEA has repeatedly warned that even near misses could have catastrophic consequences. Director General Rafael Grossi stressed that such military actions must be avoided at all costs due to the risk of radiation release and widespread disaster. Russia's foreign ministry has also issued warnings condemning attacks near nuclear infrastructure and cautioning that such actions could trigger a regional catastrophe. The Houthis' entry into the war significantly expands the geographic scope of the conflict. Already, the group has demonstrated the ability to strike long-range targets and disrupt critical maritime routes, including the Red Sea. Their leadership has made it clear that further escalation is likely unless their demands are met. Our military operations only target the Israeli and American enemy and do not target any Muslim people, the Yemeni statement asserted. They also warned against further escalation by U.S. and Israeli forces, the use of the Red Sea for military operations, and any tightening of blockades on Yemen. These conditions effectively position the Houthis as an active military participant rather than a peripheral actor. The conflict now includes direct strikes between Iran and Israel, U.S. military involvement in attacks on Iran, Hezbollah operations from Lebanon, militia activity in Iraq and Syria, and Houthi missile launches from Yemen. Recent reports also indicate attacks on U.S. bases in Saudi Arabia and disruptions across Gulf states, highlighting how quickly the war is spreading. The expansion has also disrupted global energy markets and raised fears about shipping lanes, particularly around the Strait of Hormuz and the Red Sea. Despite the escalating violence, diplomatic efforts continue behind the scenes. The United States has suggested that military operations could conclude within weeks, though the situation remains highly fluid. At the same time, countries including Pakistan, Saudi Arabia, Turkey, and Egypt are reportedly engaged in mediation efforts. However, Iran has publicly denied engaging in direct negotiations, insisting that military objectives must first be achieved. What began as targeted strikes has now evolved into a multi-front war with increasing risks of miscalculation. The involvement of Yemen's Houthis marks a critical escalation point, transforming the conflict into a broader regional confrontation. The most alarming aspect is the shifting nature of targets. Nuclear-linked sites, once considered off-limits, are now within range of active combat operations. Each new strike carries the potential not just for military escalation, but for environmental and humanitarian catastrophe. As tensions continue to surge across the Middle East, one question dominates: is this still a limited escalation or the beginning of a far more dangerous phase of war? With multiple actors now engaged, fragile defenses exposed, and nuclear concerns rising, the margin for error is rapidly shrinking. For millions across the region, the consequences are no longer theoretical. They are immediate, visible, and devastating.